Dr. Francis Kaikai, Minister of Planning and Economic Development. They can't tell we waiting on the happen at this ministry from where President B.O.B. appointed or just host Nayato now, waiting at the difference in the will happen. Well, inside 2007, government be merged the Ministry of Planning and Economic Development with the Ministry of Finance for tap the way how government that tend to be spend plenty couple pan different ministry them. But the reason we make government be merged, then two ministry there, so the number able for midterm, where we make inside 2018, government again be separate, then two ministry there, so we get now the Ministry of Finance and get the Ministry of Planning and Economic Development separately, what they call MOPED, for improved national development, policy, and self-plan the way how governments go give better life for the citizens them, and self for deepen the government of salon the relationship with them donor partner them. Now all them things so they supposed for do as a ministry we stand alone. Good morning, one more time, Dr. Kaikai, and welcome again to the program.
Yeah, good morning, Khadija.
All right, with that background, I don't get to listen to them as to how the Ministry of Planning stand on their own, and they give some of the things they are supposed to do for make sure say on improve national development, improve government policy, them plan the way how governments for give a better and favorable life for the citizen them. From the term way you don't be minister at this particular ministry to now, just give me a recap of how you don't ensure, say, under your leadership, when are able to do some of them things that were outlined.
Yeah, thank you very much, Khadija. First of all, I want to thank you very much for the very nice summary we make, of the ministry in work currently, and the reason why we, then divorce from the Ministry of Finance. I think it's not been a very good decision somehow, because it helped for really focus a little bit on, planning and economic development issues. We combined with finance, make them really too big, for one minister and deputies. As a ministry, we don't do a lot since the establishment, and I can take you back to 2018-19 already. We started the medium-term national development plan, because the first thing any government want to do is you want to translate your manifesto to a national plan. And I think it's not the first thing that the government do. President B.O.B. gets a huge manifesto, and how to translate that to a national plan was important, especially when you've been in the opposition. Now you are in governance. You get for CC, you get for revisit some of the things that we don't target for do something about. So the medium-term national development plan 9, they really summarize that, for the current government, and that being from 2019 to 2023. So we don't day into them now. We look at the final year of that particular plan day. So we also try for make sure so we not only get that plan, but make sure so the people that really own the plan also, because they participate. We can go around over 2 million people participate for put that plan together across Sierra Leone. And, so we make sure so we popularize them and make sure it is owned across the country in all 16 administrative districts. So beyond that, we also been on the monitor implementation in all the key sectors.
They can look at the implementation so far.
Yeah, so we work to cover all the sectors, and we don't monitor those things. But what's more important for a ministry is how to make sure say we get proper coordination, and make sure say we focus on anything that they will do for education, for development, and the flagship for the president and for the government, now human capital development. So the areas of education, health, food security have been the key focus, for this plan. And then, of course, you get the other sectors that really enable that, the infrastructure area, then you get mining, you get the tourism sector also. These are all areas where for generates the necessary revenue. Focus being on women, on children, on the disabled, on youths. So huge areas where I don't listen to the discussions all this period. We different ministers, different heads of agencies, they can't talk. Like this morning we get Dr. Chakanda, where they had the Seeds Agency, and they talk about the things that we then they do. Again, for sure say focus they still on achieving food security, which is critical. And I'm glad the kind of questions they will ask. So that go exercise Dr. Chakanda in mind as well. For say food security is a part of President B.O. I mean, in human capital development agenda. So education, a lot not achieved it. I mean, and I don't need for going to individual achievements. The ministers and SEBI don't talk about that. But what I would just say is that for the Ministry of Planning, we try for make sure say we focus the NGOs, we did in that sector, we did in the different sectors for make sure they contribute to this planning, because to the implementation, of the plan. And I think say during the period over the last 3 years, we don't really see real stability at the NGO sector. We don't get what we call a development cooperation framework, and with the development partners, we don't come and stabilize and hold regular meetings and really see people that focus on implementation. In spite of the COVID and the current situation, we see the development partners, they remain focused and continue to assist the government. I mean, in many, many areas, which I think we can go into as well. But you can see most development partners, and they do their job. And I think then they help the government. And right now, as we speak, we now review the development cooperation framework with them. One with the NGOs and civil society groups, and the other one with the development partners, and see how we can deepen the relationship, how we can make sure, they focus on development.
This development cooperation framework, we just make mention of Dr. Kaikai.
Yes.
How it go able for work and sync in line with the midterm development plan? When are the documents and the way governments they try for transform the vision or the ideas that they be get in the manifesto?
Well, the cooperation framework, first of all, it determines how what's forbid the relationships between our partner then and the government and the people. And once you say, the resources when they come with, we maximize the benefit when they go to the people. And for focus, I'm a little bit more on making sure they really focus on what the people they want. I know that's not any cooperation framework they do. You can see in some countries where they're much more, they give hard, then they create a hard environment, for development partners. Then tell them, say, look, you spend on this, or you go with your money. I mean, in Rwanda and other countries, that's why they are where they are, because you go with your money, they just choose and go, so you go. Government, they say, no, we don't plan this. You forgo by we don't plan. This is a plan. You go by them, you spend the money, and we all see, we assess them, because there's mutual accountability. Then we see the result together, we assess them together. Other countries, then we lose small, we development partner can just do it in a once, and all of that. We see then they lost a lot of money on different things, and we really sometimes not necessary. So, you can see that they bring a lot of expatriates, where you get expats within the country. They keep bringing their expatriates, so half the money they go back in so many ways. So we want to make sure there's a cooperation framework with a guide, we all, to make sure we focus on delivery of what's in the government want in the medium-term plan. Same for the NGOs. The NGOs, in some situations, they can do what they want at any time.
So,
but in this case, a framework, they say, no, here is the framework. Here is what we want to operate. You were a part of the medium-term plan. So now let's sit down and discuss the medium-term plan and see whose contribution they make and where in the country. Because Boku people, they come, they want for stay in a particular areas. So you see some areas are oversubscribed, but other areas in there, they're not subscribed at all. We don't get NGOs so we want to make sure, they go to those areas as well for support the people. Tell us that this is the area of need, because we also committed to the 2030 Sustainable Development Goals of the United Nations.
Okay.
We leave no one behind.
Okay.
And, so the least communities are in fact for prioritize and make sure we bring them on board and make sure they're equally covered.
Okay.
So the framework they try for make sure we address that, and a major area for the Ministry of Planning and Economic Development is really critical.
Continue for deal with in name Dr. Francis Kaikai and in the Minister of Planning and Economic Development. A there for talk about the achievements and what the ministry don't do so far for address things within the ministry a mandate.
Welcome back to you, Dr. Kaikai. Earlier, you've been starting for talk about the development cooperation framework and how this framework they help the ministry for monitor or supervise NGO them for ensure they work in line with the country in midterm development plan. How this review process don't they go?
Yeah, thank you very much. The review process is going very well actually, and one of the problems at the beginning in 2019 Now, the complaint we then say with the DCF, the Development Cooperation Framework, where they being crafted at that time, they say not being, the process not being inclusive enough. It not being include a couple of NGOs and say, and then that some civil society complain and all of that. So, me coming to the ministry with that complaint, but we've been trying to calm down the waters and say, look, let's implement, since Cabinet don't approve this, let's implement for the next 2 years, and let us see how it go. Let gain some experience, and then after that, then we can do a review. And true to form, that's what we have done. So we just say, well, let we try for now, review them based on experience. And we all got a lot of experience. I mean, even with the COVID, you know, and the current situation, we all don't say this was the best time. And I think everybody happy. The NGOs are happy. The CSOs are happy. The committee will form, inclusive enough now. And I don't make sure say it's co-chaired by the ministry and the NGOs, CSOs. They choose their own partners. So they're all together. Then they discuss them right now as we speak, you know. And also for the donors, the donor partners, they still get their own. Because are two separate processes. So then they are fully involved and they are very happy to be part of that process. So it's really very good.
Talking about the operations of NGO and donor partner them, especially one them with the operates in the country over the years, one concern when they come out and that they all get scattered vision, they not be able for get one particular objective with for saying that this one for work towards and achieve. And if I remember back from when you come and take over that ministry, one thing where you don't consistently they talk about now for call on the NGO there, so for make sure say then work in line with the government's agenda. And even recently, if we some country director then come, then go show them to, you know, one thing that we don't call on them. From where don't they make this call to now, how the NGO there don't they make sure say then work in line with the government's priority areas?
One thing I can assure you of, Khadija, is that we don't get a lot of good cooperation. And I mean, we have never been better coordinated. So the NGOs are so very pleased, and myself pleased generally that the vast majority, they really go accordingly. We don't set very clear, you know, pathways for them. You know, you come into the country, or even the national NGOs, you want to operate an NGO, there are standard operating procedures for follow, and it's very clear, very transparent. I mean, the only thing you forgo also make sure, see, if you go to education sector or health or agriculture or in the good governance area, you make sure, see, you get what we call a service level agreement with the ministry or department or agency concerned. And then when I sign that agreement there, and then we as Ministry of Planning and Economic Development, we witness them. And so this process is going on, and monitoring is going on. As we speak, there is a joint monitoring team where they go out next week already. You know, we comprise of the ministry, the line ministries, and the NGOs. Then they go for monitor which they go on at each district. So you know, so it's going very well. And then the development partners, I can assure you, say no development partner they come these days and go their way now. They must discuss with the ministry. So and they are very happy to do that. You know, just like we the German government. At one point they want to go back, but they don't come back. And we don't get a very thorough discussion for the development program for Sierra Leone. So the Germans are back and we don't get that discussion. And then they go by the medium-term plan. We don't tell us that the plan is where government gets, you know, and going forward, because it's a long-term process, development a long-term. You know, I don't tell them, say, even when we get elections next year, 2023, but going forward, development process will continue. So we talk about their own development also, and make sure, say, they're in line with within government, they think, and so on and so forth. So really, overall, I'm very pleased that it's going very well, and I think, say, we will improve on them. Even more, you know. So now that make, you know, these processes are really very important for we, and then self-glad in the participating in them.
So the service level agreement, now one will be see the both national and international NGO them we get issue with because they see say the Ministry of Planning don't come up with so many measures for put them under control, and so they will get a structure system where they will operate in. And this issue about the parliamentary NGO committee, then for the report to them and also to the ministry. Whose particular stage on a deal with the NGO them, both local and international, on the service level agreement in line with criteria them we want to present to them, say them for comply with?
Service level agreement I feel say now a very good process for even the NGOs. I don't think say there is any complaint, at least me know everybody. The only thing maybe can delay for sign, maybe there was a minister not the or deputy not the for sign.
Some of the NGO they may get issue for say for the go report to the NGO committee in parliament and also come to the ministry. They say and say it's too much for
well, the parliamentary bits. I mean, I don't get control over parliament. I mean, parliament. And then get their own oversight responsibilities. But what me they try for tell Parliament all the time, and then certainly they don't see the point, is that we need to coordinate a bit more and make we know exactly whether they call NGOs. Because NGOs, especially the international NGOs, they're very sensitive to some of them calls and where they can call them at random, for going to Parliament. I think say therefore try for be a little more systematic and then bring we into the picture. Because if there are any issues with NGOs, the Ministry of Planning for deal with that. And I think say now that message they will try to give the parliamentarians consistently because plenty don't understand the workings of the NGOs. If they want to go see what they do, we can work with them. Okay. Because also for make value in the work of the parliamentarians and therefore make sure say whatever they want to discover in the field, they can come through the ministry and then we discuss with the NGOs. So again, part of this DCF, the Development Cooperation Framework. Now, one of the things that we will try to deal with right now. So we hope the recommendation will come on that. Then we will discuss them.
So what you go say about compliance of NGO them? That's the national and international. Because don't come out with public registration. Say them for register on a present on their work plan, so that whatever they implement in a project and program them go they in line with government's agenda.
Compliance is okay. I think say I'm not getting any problem.
Which one is more compliant, the national or international?
Both actually, because plenty national NGOs and depend on the internationals, and like CRS gets resources, so they look for national NGOs wait for help they implement in some areas. So therefore, make sure say there is compliance. I mean on all of these. It's difficult for make an NGO just decide for just do what they want. Okay. Without them not go buy the plan. The way we don't set up and the way we don't discuss them. Right. And the fact that we're in the field also and they see what's in the gone, I mean they make sure say that they comply because they need resources all the time. And another way they then do not themselves, they give them money because if we complain an NGO to a donor, for example, then go take them very seriously. So they are very careful with that.
Dr. Kaikela bring you to one very important issue where you get for the data, because in any planning, on a going to plan properly for the cities in them if governments get correct and accurate data of the cities in them. And one of the ministry them we're supposed for own the census data now on a ministry we're in charge of planning. We see recently statistics salon don't do their work. We saw them being start the midterm population housing census of 2021. They don't put provisional results. And now them provisional results are so they out to the public domain. How the Ministry of Planning, first of all, see the provisional results with statistics salon publish?
Well, that's a very good one. For Camtoram actually, because data, as you say, really very critical for in all of this what they do. And as a ministry now, we did get oversight for statistics really. So in fact, the whole census process, we've been a part of them. We very much know what's in the go on and so on. So I want to use this opportunity for, again, thank Statistics really for the great job we don't do. And in spite of all the challenges we don't face, they have come out with something we are call as something we will stand the test of time for Sierra Leone. Come out with they do a digital census and they make sure they face all the odds and make sure they cover 98% of the enumeration areas across Sierra Leone. And there are errors here and there, where then they try to look at. But overall, I think they don't produce a result I think so for take very seriously. And we now know we now 7.5 million people. So we don't shift from the 7 million they quote all the time. And government look at this very seriously. And as a Ministry of Planning, I think this is very important. Then for the NGOs, just going back to them, a lot of them will be one plan for their respective areas. They don't even get data. And then they go statistics Sierra Leone, and then they get the data. So that was very difficult for them. Now, they get data for every village. Then every village coded now across Sierra Leone. 60% of villages don't get any data. Now, one of the reasons why I make them go do the midterm census. But now they don't get all that data. Okay. And so it's now possible for create data for each of these areas, which I think is really very important.
All right, we continue with the program. Good morning, Salon. We come back to Dr. Francis Kaikai, Minister of Planning and Economic Development. Earlier, we talk about the census provisional results with statistics salon being just published this BNTM, and I ask you waiting the ministry go do in terms of planning with this data. Then we look at from the term way statistics salon publish the provisional data of the census way then be do. We don't see lots of stakeholders them, CSOs, political parties, they come out, they contest the accuracy of this particular data, especially we campaign figures them we get for do with the Western area. If stakeholders them don't they come out, they contest this particular data, how useful the ministry go use this data? We get a lot of controversies in terms of national development.
Well, thank you very much. A very important question, and the good thing is I don't see what's going to happen, and me not a stranger to this process. And I don't read some of them comments and way people that don't make. And clearly, I can categorize and comment, and some of them very political. All right, so for me, not political thing. So that's it. That's okay. They can make comment as they want. And which I know read not technical comments on this process, because the one way they make the comments, they're not competent for make them comments. And number one, plenty of them. They've been opposed to even the midterm census right from the beginning, and you don't oppose right from the beginning, then illegally you even sit there for boycotting and all of that, right? Then we result come now. You first one comment on the figures. Clearly, we know you stand already. You know that's the problem. So you don't gain much from such people because you already know where they stand. You know, because we want people that we understand within that census. And we want people that will tell you exactly what's in the objection and so on. For example, the mayor, I know they don't write to statistics earlier about the Western area urban, because I don't know what urban you talk about. Nobody is talking about Western area rural. Western area rural, they fully participated in this census, as far as I know. Across the country, most of the heads of the local councils, they really encourage their people to go out there and be counted. Unlike Freetown, I don't ever see we may come out and really try and encourage young people to come out. All right? Process? No, I don't see that one there at all. And
so because
you know, I know how they come. I mean, I just want to say something that census process, statistics can do them best. Then train the enumerators. We get a digital census. People don't have to go fill form under the tree anymore. They will come out with figure at the end of the day. But then if they face fierce resistance, even in this urban area already, you know, because the most political people operative, and they say people they not count, better not count them. But the way figure come out, they won't comment on us. I mean, that's disingenuous. So, I mean, that's my problem really with that. But nonetheless, statistics alone, I sure see them ready for discuss those figures. And because I didn't job that. My own job as minister, I oversee this process and say everything credible. Now, they don't get all the data where they're supposed to forget. They don't convince you, say yes, they don't get all the data. They don't get back all in tablets. They don't get in tablets. They don't sync all the data. Can we verify that data? Yes, they say it can be verified. Can we audit the whole process? Yes, they say it can be audited, and so on. So these are important issues for we as a ministry, for make sure we will verify and audit the data. And the data, therefore, could be used. And if now Freetown no one they complain, I can understand the background to all of this. You know, because most people don't understand the dynamics of this Freetown. Some don't even know the boundary of Freetown from the Western rural. Some don't know whose side Western rural starts, whose side Western urban starts. And we see a phenomenal increase in population for the Western rural, unlike the Western urban. You know, so what is going on here? So what's the dynamics between Western urban and Western rural? We need competent people then for talk about this. We don't need just a political guy where they make commentary or a CSO where they make commentary.
So how about the citizens them? How about the citizens themselves?
Yes.
We're not going to call them, say they're a political statement and they make or they're not competent. Because where the provisional results been come on, a lot of conversation be there around that. Citizens then they will be say, I'll be available for let them count me, but they're not rich now, me say they not count me.
Well, again, as I say, statistics really then go come and answer and question them. But me, so there as a citizen as well, and also as a professional person, and also as a minister where they oversee this process. I was personally involved. I've been go make payments. I've been go supervise. And we encourage people in governments in other sectors, may they all go out and see things that happen. And I saw a lot of that across the country. You know, and I know, say, for example, Cashol and Cole, the district council chairman for Western Rural, I saw him making maneuvers. I mean, they try to encourage people to get into the census process. And they call in company chairman them at the other districts, say, hey, this census is not taken seriously, like Falaba and Carrinet. They've never had figures. So, this place is 90% of the villages. We'll not get figure for that, but then create it as a district. I tell them, say, this is the opportunity for me to get data. You know, and we don't get data for them now in most of the villages. But even though they get resistance, later on, because statistics, they make sure, say, they prolong the period. So they were very lucky. So people had the opportunity. So the census period passed, they extend them. Then later on, they say then you get a wind down period. You know, then do a phone in. They did all these things, and that way, a lot of those areas, they got all their data. So across Sierra Leone, in all the 15 out of 16 districts, now I know what everybody's complaining at the Western Urban, but they actually understand because we get a lot of operatives at it. But we don't tell the mayor also, it got to be a little collaborative. Because mayor not for the complain people all the time, complain things all the time. You have to be collaborative. So work with statistics really, understand this process, understand the data, and all of that, and then you can make a reasonable comment on them. But just for kind of social media for the talk and anything in the, I mean that is also not really very healthy for somebody with a head municipality. You cannot be on social. Go to these people that we concerned, and we want to get a healthy discussion, and then see what's going to go on with this process here. Because all other the rest of the country, I mean, they saw it, they were part of it, they participated. Pass you not participate, and unfortunately, some of you, people that were close, when I called for a boycott, which was illegal by the way, they could have jailed a lot of people for that because that's what the Census Act said. But because of peace, I mean, some people then just cautioned them. So that is the problem, and I can tell you, we don't say then see I get consequences. Any country in the world where census day, any part of the country will create difficulties. The census will stop. They will still go ahead because a period they differ. Another 5 years before another census they come, and then if any issues and they will be looked at. But people have for learn lessons from this, you know. And myself and I wisdom, I don't learn a lot of lessons, you know, from this particular census. But this is a good census for Sierra Leone, a digital. The result can be verified. I mean, we see gaps and we can easily know from the server. And then the areas in where we know, say, we got a 98%, 2%, they will maybe not covered. Then get what's called statistical error. These are things where statistics Sierra Leone could discuss with anybody who are interested in this figure. Right now, they do no back crunching for make sure they can with the final where they drill down to chiefdom level across the country.
Mr. Minister, moving forward on this provisional result of statistics Salondo, it clear say with so many objection and concern, statistics Salondo make and say there is no going back because they do enough for make everybody participate. Lord, look at how this provisional result will speak in any time come development and project where governments go plan for implement a different pattern of the country. Because at the end of the day, the Ministry of Planning therefore use this data for ensure say whatever government they plan for do a reach in all area of people. You think say the result go in line with whatever forward development where government go plan for do?
Well, I would say yes overall to the question because first of all, now census with the president himself, I am proclaimer. Now the president said one will count. And I be number one citizen where they count here in family.
Maybe with so many objections.
No, well, they say so many. You say so many. How many people? If 1,000 people they object, but you get over 600,000 people. I mean, that's a small percentage. Let's be honest. And me personally, as a minister, I don't dismiss anybody's views on these issues. I can listen to people. I possibly listen a lot. I read a lot. I listen a lot, I analyze a lot, and which they say,
views
competent. Because I also can listen to the people and the background where they come from. I know people a lot as well. I don't grow up necessarily. I know people. I know who can talk about census, where I go listen, seriously. And I myself, the new UNFPA boss, representative for Sierra Leone, I don't try for encourage them, for make we support the Population and Development Studies Department at Afrobe College. For more train more and more Sierra Leoneans, we go understand these kinds of things and processes and so on, and we want more and more of that. Then we want more studies now this urban setting, this urban Freetown. We also want more and more people to understand the dynamics of the Western area. There are so many issues where they go on right now. As a minister for planning, and they look at Western area now. I don't even look at Freetown because the dynamics between this Freetown and Waterloo is so serious.
So finally,
even in terms even in terms of planning now, we for the look at what's in the happen between Waterloo and Freetown because there's a mass movement to Freetown every day and back. So you look at these two places really as one. So Freetown by itself, we just draw a boundary around and keep it like Freetown because there are lots of things going on. People are plenty now in the center of Freetown today. And by night, they are not there.
Finally.
And we the question we Census they ask, where you sleep on the 9th of December? Right. You sleep. So now even they go sleep. When people they sleep, there is nothing happening in the central business district of Freetown.
Finally, Mr.
But at night,
Minister.
So these dynamics have to be understood and studied very, very clearly by people who understand the subject matter.
Okay. Finally, waiting will happen to the people now where they're not being counted during the census process in terms of planning. How government's going to include
the way government they plan, they ask people and you've been in a census, then count you or they not count you. That's not the way planning goes.
On the data.
Planning most of the time not area-based planning. Okay. If you go cover Port Loko district, maybe not to the whole district. That part of Port Loko district, when they go there and plan for then get figures for the areas and then people will look at. Okay. That's what they happen. They always don't say, oh, this is not the plan for the whole of Freetown. There is nothing like that. Even the transformed Freetown plan, where the mayor get areas and things and the way you want to do that for certain areas, where concentrations and of people and so on. Okay. But you just sit down and say, this is not for the whole of Freetown. We look at water. We sign at the water areas of water challenges. You look at the streets and you look at waste garbage collection and so many different things that we don't get to do. I mean, even the traffic in town. You get to study how the traffic they move and so on before you really. So the planning itself, I mean, it go on, but it's area based, it's sector based, and so on. And so it happen.
Okay.
But the overall figures, then they are only important also for development partners. We probably allocate resources to Sierra Leone.
Plenty thank you to you. We join inside the program. Dr. Francis Kaikai, Minister of Planning and Economic Development. We don't tell you about the different thing them where the ministry don't they do.
Now they end the program. Good morning, Salon for today in edition. Michael Sambola and Alex Torrance Kumana they produce the program. DJ Lava and give you technical support. Moses Kavora and I make one watch we live now Facebook page. Mina Khadija Bangura, they wish you all a lovely day.
And it's up to you, Kalon, to say bye-bye.